Hey guys, here we are at part 7th of the story. Another mob attacks Naruto, and the third Hokage takes a decision that will make Naruto a dangerous shinobi. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button. Now, let's jump right in. Splash. Yoshi, you're out, Naruto yelled to the now drenched academy student. Yoshi, a 13-year-old second-year academy student, was grumbling to himself as he schlepped his way to the sidelines to join his fellow classmates who were also recipients of Naruto's special brand of teaching. Naruto was currently subbing for the taijutsu instructor who was needed on a mission. He was informed by Tsunade that being a substitute instructor was a part of his duties as a chunin. Currently, Naruto was standing in front of his temporary class as they went through the academy katas blindfolded. Naruto's own special twist to the exercise were the water balloons he would randomly throw at his students to gauge their awareness of their surroundings. "Sensei?" Sayamatsu called out from the sidelines. "I don't understand how water balloons and blindfolds are supposed to help us be better ninja." "Hold," Naruto said to the still dry students. "You may remove your blindfolds." Naruto looked around to make sure he had everyone's attention. "Matsu-san, you will not always have the luxury of fighting one opponent at a time, nor will you have the luxury of seeing every attack aimed at you. The blindfolds will help you increase your awareness of your surroundings. The water balloons represent the incoming attacks that could happen anytime, day or night." Naruto paused to let his eyes roam over the crowd of students. "I want you all to understand something, and this should have been drilled into you from day one. The life of a shinobi is only glamorous when you're on the outside looking in." "Naruto-sensei, did you have to go through this as well?" Matsu asked. "Not only was I forced to dodge water balloons, but as I got older, I was forced to wear a blindfold during sparring sessions, and I was forced to walk around blindfolded while defending myself from my instructors who would attack me whenever the mood hit them." Naruto gave the class lopsided smile that closed one of his eyes. "And believe me, my instructors did not pull any punches when they attacked." Naruto forced down the shivers his body was giving as he briefly relived his torture under the former Hokages. Naruto clapped his hands together to get their attention. "Okay, since class is almost over, I think I'll let you go a little early." Naruto waited for the cheers to die down. "Tomorrow we will continue where we left off and we will also have a sparring session, so until then, dismissed." Naruto's class bowed in unison and turned to go home when they were suddenly bombarded with water balloons. They shrieked in surprise, and because they were all clumped together they fell over each other trying to get away and wound up in a tangled mess. They turned as one when they heard the boisterous laughter of their blonde sensei. "Ha ha 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 ha, I told you an attack could come at any time," Naruto said as he doubled over in laughter. "Get him." "See you tomorrow," Naruto said with a wave before he took off in a burst of speed. He quickly left the academy and his pissed-off students in a cloud of dust as he took off to one of his daily appointments. For once he was actually early as he arrived at his favorite ramen stand. As Naruto took a seat, he thought about what he just did. "I just pissed off 32 teenagers, whom I'm supposed to fight tomorrow," Naruto thought with a frown. Oh well, it was still funny. He thought again about the angry red faces of 32 teenagers. "Maybe I should have someone fill in for me." "Good afternoon, Naruto-san," Tucci said as he came from his kitchen area. "What can I get you?" "Just tea for now, Tucci-san. I'll wait to order for a bit," Naruto replied as he picked up the menu just to have something to do. "You got it," Tucci said, pouring him a cup of tea. "Let me know when you're ready." As Naruto sat there enjoying his cup of tea, he relaxed marginally as some of the tension he has had over the last 2 weeks left his shoulders. For the last 2 weeks Naruto has been playing the peacemaker between his 3 fiancées. On one side Hana and Anko resented Temari because out of nowhere, she was now a part of their lives. Temari on the other side was resenting the fact that she was being blamed for something she had no control over. Naruto himself could understand both sides. A virtual stranger has now been foisted upon their private lives, and then again Temari had no say in the situation. Her only option was to make the best of it. Naruto tried to get the girls together so they could get to know each other, but they were all on different schedules. Temari was an early riser. She liked to train early before going to a private tutoring session she was required to attend on the various laws of Konoha since she was going to be a wife of a council member. Naruto made it a point to have breakfast with Temari every morning since she came to the village to try to get to know her better. He would sit and make casual conversation over a cup of ramen while she had eggs or fruit. Anko worked late into the night for the TI department, so he would have a late dinner or just go to the bar and have a few drinks with her. Because of the many different animals Hana tended to, her hours ping-ponged here and there. So after Naruto was done with the academy, they would always try to meet for a late lunch. That was who Naruto was waiting for at the moment. Hoping it was Hana, Naruto turned to look behind him when he heard the curtains to the ramen stand being pushed aside. "Ah, brother-in-law, how are you?" Kiba paused just inside the curtain when he caught sight of his sister's boyfriend. "Do you mind not calling me that? I still think it's weird for my sister to be dating someone the same age as me. It's not like she's robbing the cradle, besides you're going to have to get used to it sooner or later." Whatever Kiba said, fully entering the ramen stand, he was followed by his teammates, Shino Aburame and Hinata Hyuga, if his memories from the Chunin exams were accurate. "It's nice to see you again, Aburame-san, Hyuga-san." Naruto greeted the two clan heir. "Nice to see you as well, Namikaze-sama," Shino said with a formal bow. "Yes, good afternoon, Namikaze-sama," Hinata said with a formal bow as well. "No need for all the formality," Naruto said, waving his hand dismissively. "After all, it's not like we're conducting official business, we just ran into each other at a food stand. Naruto is just fine with me." "In that case, please call me Shino," the quiet bug user said. "And I'm Hinata," the shy Hyuga said. "Arf. Arf. Don't worry, Akamaru, I didn't forget about you." Naruto reached into one of the pockets on his cargo pants and pulled out a baggie of beef jerky. He pulled out a couple of pieces and tossed them to the white ninja dog. "Welcome to Ichiraku, what can I get you?" Tucci said as he once again appeared from his kitchen. "A large beef please, with extra rare beef," Kiba said. "Chicken please," Hinata said with a barely audible voice. "Miso ramen and a pot of tea," Shino said quietly. "How's the ninja life?" Naruto asked. "As good as could be expected for genins, who have less than a year of real-world experience," Shino said in a monotone voice. "Don't sugarcoat it, Shino," Kiba said with an impatient growl in his voice. "We've been training non-stop since the Chunin exams, but the only missions we've been doing is D ranks, and low-level C ranks." "Calm down, Kiba-kun, I'm sure when Kurenai-sensei feels we're ready we'll go on higher-ranked missions," Hinata said softly to her hot-headed teammate. "Listen to her, Kiba, I'm sure Kurenai just wants to break you all in slowly. The only other alternative is to throw you into the deep end and hope for the best," Naruto told the Inuzuka. "It feels like we're being babied. Team 7 has already been on an A-rank mission," Kiba complained. "Actually it was a C rank turned A rank, Kiba," Shino said. "Team 7 had no way of knowing the difficulty of mission would escalate when they accepted it." "Whose side are you on?" Kiba snapped. Shino calmly raised an eyebrow over his sunglasses. "I wasn't aware the discussion we were having required sides to be taken." Kiba growled in irritation, he always the calm monotone Shino always used. "Kiba, what are growling at now?" Hana asked as she suddenly walked through the curtains of the ramen stand. "Hana-chan, you're late," Naruto said as he turned around in his seat. "I'm not late, you're just on time for once, Naruto-kun," Hana said with a smirk. "Hardy har, where are the triplets?" Naruto asked when Hana's dog companions didn't follow her through the curtain. "They were missing the rest of the pack, so I dropped them off at the compound. I'll pick them up later," Hana explained as she took a seat next to her fiancé. "I haven't seen you around lately, sis," Kiba said. "Ah, do you miss your big sister, Kiba-kun?" Hana said teasingly. "No, just commenting on my good fortune," Kiba said with a smirk. "Ooh, that was kind of witty, Kiba. How long have you been waiting to use that one?" "Are you calling me stupid?" Kiba snarled, standing up from his chair. "Don't be so touchy, I'm not calling you stupid," Hana said. Kiba sat back down after glaring at his sister for a moment. "I'm implying that you're stupid though," Hana said. Kiba face vaulted out of his chair. He jumped back up, no doubt ready to continue trading insults with his big sister, when he was stopped by Tucci bringing his food to the counter. Kiba chose to preserve what dignity he had left and returned to his seat and his food. The rest of the meal passed in almost complete silence. There was the occasional sibling barbs between Hana and Kiba and some casual talk between Naruto, Shino, and Hinata. Hana and Naruto were the first to leave because Hana had to go back to the vet hospital. "Is it time for me to step in yet?" Naruto asked Hana. Hana didn't pretend she didn't know what Naruto was talking about. He was referring to the way she and Anko was treating Temari. Anko and Hana both knew that Temari wasn't at fault in this situation. But they were taken completely by surprise, by Temari's sudden immersion in their lives. "There's no need for you to step in, we'll work this out between the three of us," Hana assured him. "I hope so, you know how I feel about family, Hana-chan. I don't plan to be the go-between for you three." Naruto told her seriously. "You won't have to, Naruto-kun, I promise you that," Hana said as she stopped in front of their destination, which was the Inuzuka compound. Hana flared her chakra in 3 quick repetitions, and seconds later, the Heimaru triplets were racing towards the gates of the compound in their human companion. After playing around the Grey Wolfhounds for a minute, Naruto and Hana parted ways. Naruto watched Hana until she disappeared from view, and then Naruto himself, with a crackle of blue lightning. Naruto reappeared in front of a large solid black iron gate, connected to a tall stone wall that disappeared into the trees that lined both sides of the entryway. Naruto pushed on the door on the right, it swung open without a sound of protest. On the other side of the gates was Naruto's very pride and joy. For the last 2 weeks, whenever Naruto came home, he always paused on this side of the gates and soaked in the view. This is it, Naruto thought. This is going to be my home, the place my children and my children's children will be raised. Naruto stood on his stone walkway and looked at his large white brick home with pride. On the inside was 6 bedrooms, 3 fireplaces, a dual staircase, a completely renovated kitchen, and much more. But the thing that Naruto could never get enough of was the 80 acres that the house sat on. The entire front portion, with the exception of the stone walkway, was nothing but lush green grass. At the back of the house was a sparring ring and a complete obstacle course, with enough room left over to let loose a few overcharged jutsu if the mood ever hit. As Naruto walked towards the front door, he stopped halfway up the walkway when he picked up a spike of chakra coming from the back of the property. He hightailed to the backyard where the training area was, and as he got closer he let his senses out to try and gauge the situation. He picked up only 1 chakra signature, which turned out to be Tamari's. He watched for several minutes as Tamari went through her imaginary battle. She moved with fluid precision, as she weaved in and out of the attacks of her make-believe enemies. Her chest heaved up and down, sweat poured of her brow and matted her hair to her forehead as she switched between using her battle as a melee weapon and a medium for her Winjutsu. Finally, she jumped away and with one mighty swing, Kamaitachi Jutsu, she dug a 40-foot trench into the land. What a beautiful sight! Naruto thought as he looked at the sweating and dirt-stained Kunoichi standing tall in the fading sunlight as she surveyed what her hard work had wrought. Tamari suddenly spun around, possibly sensing that she was no longer alone. She held her fan in front of her defensively and only relaxed marginally when she saw it was Naruto. "Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you, I was just admiring your technique." "That's okay, it's not like you won't eventually know my every secret," Tamari said with a neutral expression on her face. "How was the tutoring session today?" Naruto asked as he approached. "Still boring, although Iruka-san tells me I've almost completed the course," she said with a huff. Naruto nodded. "Are you hungry? I could throw something together for you?" Tamari raised a sardonic eyebrow and remained silent. Naruto raised his hands in surrender. "I promise it won't be ramen. Why don't hit the showers and I get it started," he said and gestured to the house. Tamari tilted her head in agreement but remained silent and walked silently next to Naruto as they went inside. They walked through the sliding doors that led to an office den. There was a large sofa that took up most of the floor space. It sat facing a large oak desk set against the far wall. The bookshelves that lined the walls were basically empty, except for a few texts on basic shinobi skills and literature. Naruto broke off to his left towards the kitchen and Tamari went straight ahead through the archway connecting the living room. She disappeared around the corner and up the stairs. In the kitchen, Naruto summoned a clone to help him prepare the meal. He went to the fridge and took out a heaping of vegetables and a couple of steaks. Tamari reappeared 30 minutes later. Her hair was pulled back into a single bushy ponytail, still slightly damp from her shower. She was wearing gray sweatpants and an oversized black t-shirt. "I'm surprised, I really thought the only thing you could do in the kitchen was boil water for ramen." Tamari was pleasantly surprised to see strips of steak presented on top of a large bowl of stir-fry vegetables. "I'm far from being a gourmet, but I can get by if I want to. It just so happens I wanted to," Naruto said with a smile. They sat across from each other at the stone island in the center of the large kitchen. When Tamari took her first bite she immediately closed her eyes and a moan of pure bliss escaped her lips. She joyed, slowly enjoying the perfect blend of seasonings on the meat and vegetables. "Is that good?" Tamari opened her eyes to see that Naruto had pulled his mask down and a lopsided grin on his face. Her face heated up as she took in his features. She still wasn't used to being around him without his mask on. Those fierce cerulean blue eyes made her stomach quiver whenever he focused them on her, and the whisker marks on his cheeks added a feral quality that only made it worse. Tamari ignored her stinging cheeks and answered the question. "It's hard to believe you don't consider yourself a gourmet. This is great." Thank you, but truthfully it only comes out like this when I put in the effort, Naruto said as he dug into his own meal. And I'm worth the effort? Temari asked softly. Of course, all of you are. Naruto replied honestly. Temari grunted softly, refusing to go into the subject of Naruto's of the betrotheds. The silence stretched as they went about eating their meals. Naruto was dishing himself a second helping when he started the conversation again. Have you heard from anyone from your village recently? Kankuro and Baki-sensei sent me letters. She paused and then said softly, I sent Gaara a letter but he hasn't responded yet. Naruto reached across and squeezed her hand briefly before letting it go. Don't give up on him, that's the worst you can do for someone like Gaara. Keep hammering at the wall he built around himself and eventually you'll make a hole big enough for you to fit through. Thanks, she said with melancholic smile. I didn't even meet Gaara until he was 8 years old. I knew of him, everyone in the village did, but I didn't know he was my brother until we actually met. My father, she spat out the title as if it were poison, had Gaara raised by our uncle on the other side of the village. Then one day Kankuro and I were called to the Kage's office and introduced to an angry and very scary redhead, and we were told this is our little brother. Temari stopped her story, trying to get her emotions under control. She could tell by the blurred vision as she looked down into her unfinished meal that whether or not she finished the story or not, she was going to shed a few tears tonight. For as long as I could remember, Gaara was made out to be the boogeyman of the hidden sand village. I remember hearing parents use him as a threat to get their kids to eat their vegetables and to place nice, or Gaara the sand demon was going to get them. I wish I had those first few years after we first met back now. Back then, I was completely terrified of him. Every time he moved I would flinch. Not once in all the missions we went on together did I ever allow him at my back. Temari's had finally broken down and the tears were flowing freely down her face now. I didn't know how to treat the boogeyman as a person, and I didn't know how to treat a stranger as a brother, she cried out miserably. As Temari cried in earnest, she felt herself being enveloped in strong arms and warmth. She didn't know how long she cried for, she was just grateful that Naruto allowed her to do so without comment. She finally pulled back and wiped her eyes and gasped as she looked into not the blue eyes of Naruto, but the brown eyes of Hana. Hana didn't say anything, just silently offered Temari dish towel to clean her face. Temari accepted the towel. She turned in her seat to look over at Naruto and was shocked for a second time as she saw Anko sitting next to him at the island. Anko sat there expressionless, but Naruto had a sad smile on his face. I was going to hold you, but Hana-chan beat me to it. Let me say one thing to you, Temari-chan, and then we can put this subject to rest for now. I've been where Gaara was. I was the receptacle for this village's collective fear and hate. And at some point, I was filled with nothing but anger at the unfairness of my life. But I was given a second chance, with people who not only told me but showed me that they cared. Naruto's sad smile shifted into a stern. 1. You and Gaara both now have a second chance on what you missed out on as children. Don't waste it with regret, and don't let him to waste it either. If you have to write him a letter every day of every week until you get a response, then do just that. Hammer it into his skull that somebody out there cares about him. Temari gave Naruto a watery smile before she stood up. I'm going to go to the bathroom and get cleaned up. While you're up there, get out of those rags, Anko said, gesturing to Temari's outfit. You need a couple of drinks in you, and I know a place we can go where we won't be bothered. Temari hesitated for a moment, but then she nodded her head and left the kitchen. So what are you two doing home so early? Naruto asked as he dished up a couple of bowls for the two of them. I wanted to call it an early day, so I had someone fill in for me, Hana said as she accepted her bowl. Ibiki didn't have any new play dates for me, so I got the hell out of there as fast as I could. No way was I going to be stuck there doing boring paperwork, Anko said between bites. Anybody want to tell me why, all of a sudden, you want to get to know Temari? Naruto asked. If he sounded suspicious, it was unintentional. He trusted Anko and Hana, but this was a quick turnaround from his earlier conversation with Hana. You wouldn't understand, it's a girl thing, Anko said with a shrug. Naruto knew enough women to understand that to mean we don't have to explain ourselves to you, you're a man. So he left it alone. They ate in silence until Temari came back down to the kitchen, fresh-faced, in a pair of dark blue jeans that hugged her hips just right. She was also wearing a tan short-sleeve shirt decorated with little battle fans. The shirt stopped at her waistline and showed off her toned arms. Well, Anko said with a smirk. Beneath that battle kimono, the desert flower is a hot little body. Temari blushed partially because she was not used to casual dress and because she was certainly not used to being scrutinized by a female unless they were on other sides of the battlefield. I'm ready whenever you are. "Don't wait up Naruto-kun," Hana said as the trio made their way out of the kitchen. "So I guess I'll take care of the dirty dishes then?" Naruto yelled after them. "And if you could take care of the boys for me, that would be great," Hana called back. The boys, meaning the Heimaru triplets, took that as their cue to start scratching at the back door. Naruto went to the door and let them in. They immediately scrabbled into the kitchen and began sniffing around the island where everyone had eaten, looking for scraps. When they didn't find any, they looked in Naruto's direction and showed their mastery of the puppy eye jutsu, complete with whimpering and whining. "If Hana-chan ever finds out how much I spoil you three, then we're all going to be in a pile of trouble, so let's keep this between us guys, alright?" When Naruto got three nods in reply, he went to the fridge and took out another package of steaks wrapped in white paper. He opened it up and then stood back as the three gray animals tore into the fresh meat. While the dogs were bust-eating, Naruto summoned a shadow clone to clean the kitchen while he himself went to take a shower. He came back down 20 minutes later in a pair of shorts and a wife beater. He saw the triplets splayed out on the floor near and could only shake his head. "I guess it's guys' night in." Naruto walked into the den and was followed by the triplets. He retrieved a well-worn book from the top drawer of the desk and then stretched on the sofa. He opened the book up to a dog-eared page, and after reading the first couple of sentences he let out a perverted giggle that had Heimaru triplets cocking their heads in his direction. "Okiki, you naughty mix," Naruto said before giggling again. The Heimaru triplets shared a look between which translated to "Master's mate may be strong, but he is so weird sometimes." Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death, was a nightmare for most ninja of any rank. There were many mysteries surrounding the forbidden training ground. Rumors amongst the civilians were that the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, created it to house all 9 Baijiu when he caught and tamed them. Rumors among the shinobi were that Training Ground 44 used to be the old academy test back when the village was first constructed. Whatever the rumors, the fact of the matter is that for the last hour the usual inhabitants that call the Forest of Death home have been scurrying to their dens, cowering in their caves, or have taken flight high above in the canopy of the ancient trees of the forest. Because of the 2 high-class shinobi who have turned the Forest of Death into their own personal battleground. Earth-style, swamp of the underworld. Jiraiya's voice echoed through the forest as he slammed his hands down into the earth in front of him. Jiraiya knew an obvious move like that wouldn't ensnare his opponent. He was just using it to get some space between the two of them and perhaps buy some time for his next move. As expected, his opponent did a series of handsprings away from the quickly spreading mud swamp and finally landing on the base of a tree trunk, where he went through a quick succession of hand seals, fire style, great fireball jutsu. Naruto inhaled deeply, filling his chest with chakra-converted flames, and then expelled it in a continuous red-hot stream of fire aimed at the ever-growing swamp made by the Toad Sage. Jiraiya released his swamp jutsu in shocked amazement as he watched it be turned into a field of clay. Jiraiya's shock didn't last long as he saw Naruto go through more hand seals, not wanting to take the chance of getting hit with any jutsu his godson was about to send his way. The white-haired Sannin took off into the foliage of the surrounding trees before Naruto could finish his seals. Water style, pressure cannon. As Jiraiya ran through the forest, he took a quick glance behind him to see the damage he'd just escaped from when his eyes widened. Cutting into tree trunks and solid rock like a hot knife through butter was a stream of water about an inch thick. The Toad Sage poured on the speed to avoid being cut in half. Jiraiya made a sharp right turn in the direction he estimated Naruto to be. He threw a handful of shuriken ahead of him, disrupting Naruto's jutsu before bursting about the foliage and attacking Naruto with a drop kick to the chest. "Gotcha, brat," Jiraiya thought with a smirk as he took great satisfaction in the shocked look in the blonde-haired ninja's eyes. As Jiraiya landed on his feet, his smirk was replaced with a look of shock of his own, when the Naruto he kicked burst smoke and was replaced with shattered wood pieces. The Sannin's danger sense kicked in and he jumped away just in time to avoid a heel drop from Naruto that left a crater in the ground. Naruto didn't want to give Jiraiya even a second to think, so he sprang forward and threw a right hook that would have taken off Jiraiya's head if he hadn't leaned back to avoid it. Jiraiya may not have been known for his taijutsu, but he wasn't a slouch. He came right back at Naruto with a jumping knee strike that the blonde had to quickly sidestep. At the same time, both men connected front kicks to each other's chests that sent them sprawling to the ground in opposite directions. Jiraiya went with the momentum of Naruto's kick and rolled ass over tea kettle until he was back on his feet, fist raised ready for Naruto's next onslaught. Naruto kicked back to his feet into a ready stance. He was sweating and panting, but not too heavily, as he eyed Jiraiya up and down looking for a weakness. "You know, you're pretty spry for an old man," Naruto said with a smirk as he started to circle Jiraiya. Jiraiya chuckled lightly with a smirk of his own. You're going to wish you looked as good as I do when you're my age. You forget I'm an Uzumaki. By the time I'm 50 I'll still look 25, Naruto said with a full-blown smile as he and Jiraiya continued to circle and inch towards each other. No one likes a smart-ass you brat. Jiraiya sprang forward with a straight right punch. Naruto sidestepped the punch and rolled along Jiraiya's arm and countered with an elbow strike aimed at Jiraiya's back, but the more experienced ninja dropped to his hands and delivered a double mule kick to Naruto's stomach, sending him skidding along the ground. Jiraiya ran forward to press his advantage but was tripped up by a hand coming from beneath the ground, causing him to fall to one knee. The 1 second it took for Jiraiya to dispel the clone was all Naruto needed to press his advantage. He was already back on his feet and back on the attack. He stunned the white-haired ninja with a low kick to the inside of his right knee and followed it with a spinning backhand that sent the older ninja on his own right into the dirt. The Toad Sage recovered quickly and the two clashed together in a symphony of meaty thunks and whacks as they traded hit after hit. Pain grunts echoed throughout the clearing as Jiraiya and Naruto continued to decimate the landscape in their intense sparring session. The two ninjas sprang apart, panting and bloody but with smiles on their faces. The smiling Jiraiya swiped a trail of blood from the corner of his mouth and spread it on his palm. Naruto raised a surprised eyebrow as he crossed his arms in an X over his chest. "You're going to summon one of the toads? I thought this was supposed to be a spar?" Naruto said in amusement. "I guess I'm having too much fun. It has been so long since I didn't know the outcome of a battle that the old warrior blood is starting to heat up," Jiraiya said as he started going through the seals for a summoning jutsu. Naruto's entire body tensed as he prepared himself to go to the next level. Summoning J. Gravity Seal, Relay. Both ninja paused as they felt a chakra signature fast approaching their location. "I guess that's the end of round 1, old man," Naruto said as he dropped his arms to his side. "Whoever that is just saved you a world of hurt, Blondie," Jiraiya said as he stood up from his crouching position. While waiting for their guest to arrive, Naruto took the opportunity to look around at his and Jiraiya's handiwork. He whistled softly to himself as he took in the upturned trees, craters and trenches that were wrought from their battle. Naruto had to shake his head at all the destruction, and we weren't even going all out. Naruto thought to himself. The chakra signature was still a little ways off, so Naruto joined Jiraiya at the edge of a nearby river to rinse the blood and grime from his face to look halfway presentable. Both men were silent while they rinsed away the filth until Naruto asked, "Are you going to tell me why it was so important that we had to do this? You show up at my door out of nowhere, you drag me all the way out here just to ask for a spar. Is something on your mind?" Jiraiya was silent for a moment before turning to Naruto with a serious expression on his face. "We never really talked about how much I screwed up by not being there for you when you were younger," the Sannin started to say before he was interrupted. "I thought we were past this? I know why you couldn't take me with you and I know why you couldn't stay," Naruto said with a slightly bewildered look on his face. Jiraiya nodded his head and turned back to stare at the ripples in the river. "I failed you, Naruto. Those first 6 years of your life should have never been as hard as they were. Not only did I fail you, but I also failed Minato, Kushina and myself. It has been damn hard looking at myself in the mirror and still calling myself a man." "I don't know what you want me to tell you," Naruto said as he stood up and stretched out the kinks in his back. "I don't have any hard feelings toward you for the choices you made. I came out stronger in the end because of them. It's true my previous years in the village weren't the childhood bliss some kids might have had, but I was never one to think that the grass was greener on the other side, so stop beating yourself up about it." Jiraiya stood up to his full height and looked his godson in the eyes. "Even if you say that, I've been carrying this shame and guilt for a long time and I can't carry it into the next phase of my life." "The next phase of your life?" Naruto shook his head in exasperation at Jiraiya's refusal to let the subject drop. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" "Nope, I intend to make up for my past mistakes whether you like it or not. Now put on your game face, our guest is about to arrive," Jiraiya said before focusing on a point over Naruto's shoulder. It was seconds after Naruto turned around that an Anbu-clad ninja appeared in front of them. "How can we help you, Anbu-san?" Jiraiya asked. It was the cat Anbu agent that Naruto had met a while back. "I was sent by Lady Tsunade to inform you, Jiraiya-sama, that if you're late to the meeting that you requested that she would personally rearrange your internal organs by way of her fist down your throat," the Anbu informed Jiraiya in a monotone. The cat Anbu then turned to Naruto. "Lady Tsunade said that your presence is also required, Namikaze-sama," she said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto turned a confused look towards Jiraiya. "What does she need me there for? Is it a full council meeting?" It's not a council meeting at all, just persons of interest, and it was me that requested you to be there. I have some plans for the future that involve you. Just be in the Hokage's office in an hour, Jiraiya said before he also disappeared. Naruto could only sigh at Jiraiya's cryptic response before he left in a flash of lightning and reappeared at the edge of the Forest of Death. Being that he only had an hour to get to the meeting, Naruto hauled ass to his home. Arriving at his compound, Naruto went straight to his bedroom and the shower. The steaming hot water had only been washing away Naruto's early morning sparring session for a few minutes, when he heard his bathroom door opening. He turned towards the disturbance and a smile bloomed on his face when he saw Anko standing in the open doorway. Her purple hair was free-flowing and she was wearing a thigh-length black silk robe. "To what do I owe this early morning treat, Anko-chan?" Naruto asked as he slid the shower stall door open. "Don't get any ideas, Ibiki is out of town so I have to be in early to cover for him. This is just to conserve water," Anko said as she dropped her robe, exposing her well-toned and well-curved body before stepping into the stall with Naruto. Naruto was never one to let opportunity get away from him, so as soon as Anko was stepped under the spray of hot water, he grabbed up the soap, got a good lather going on a washcloth and started to wash her back. "Didn't I tell you not to get any ideas?" Anko said, but didn't physically discourage the action one bit. "I'm not getting any ideas, I'm just trying to save you some time by washing your back," he said innocently, while moving the cloth from her shoulders and slowly making his way down her back to her firm buttocks. "Naruto," Anko said in a warning tone. Okay," he said and stopped massaging the globes of her ass. "Damn it, Naruto!" Anko yelped, because the blonde shinobi pulled her back flush against his chest and set to washing her breasts while intermittently pinching her nipples through the washcloth. "What? I figured since I already did your back I might as well do the front." With a frustrated growl, Anko whipped around and grabbed a handful of hair in each and pulled Naruto down to her level and devoured his lips. The two kissed frantically, while trying to maintain balance on the slippery surface of the shower stall floor. Naruto had one hand curled into the purple locks of his fiancée while the other was cupping her ass, pressing her closer to his erection trapped between their bodies. It was Anko who broke away first to trail kisses down Naruto's neck. She stopped at Naruto's chest where she briefly admired the tattoo he came home with from his last mission. It was no bigger than Hana's mating bite and it was simple in design. But in its simplicity it said much. It was a simple purple snake, drawn to look like the infinity symbol, and it was next to Hana's mating bite right over Naruto's heart. According to Naruto, it represented the love he had for her that would last forever. She tenderly kissed the tattoo just as she had done when he first showed her. Anko looked up into the warm blue eyes of the man that she would no doubt spend eternity with and once again closed the gap between their lips. This time the kiss was soft, slow and meant to be seductive and heartfelt. "So what if I'm late? It will be well worth it," Anko thought with a smile. Naruto practically skipped into the meeting a half hour late. He was smiling so hard beneath his mask that his face was starting to hurt. In attendance was Sarutobi, who was seated in front of Tsunade's desk. A tiger-masked Anbu agent who was standing to the left of the seated Tsunade. The Jonin commander Shikaku Nara, he was slouching in a chair next to Sarutobi. Jiraiya, he was standing to the right of the seated Tsunade. Naruto took the open seat next to Shikaku and gave Tsunade his full attention. "Thank you for deigning us with your presence, Naruto," Tsunade said sarcastically. "I believe you know everyone here with the exception of Tenzo," she said, gesturing towards the masked shinobi standing at attention in front of her desk. "I apologize for my tardiness, but I had a personal issue that demanded my attention," he said diplomatically. "Whatever," she said dismissively. "Jiraiya wanted this meeting, so I'll let him take over from here. I'll cut straight to the reason I've called you all here. There is a threat to not only Konoha but to every village in the elemental nations, and it's called Akatsuki," Jiraiya said straight out. Even Shikaku sat up in his chair at Jiraiya's dire tone. Jiraiya went on to explain Akatsuki's goal of targeting Jinchuriki and taking out their Baijuis for an unknown purpose. "Orochimaru was once a part of this organization. The only members I'm currently aware of are Itachi Uchiha, Kisame Hoshigaki, Datara the Mad Bomber from the Hidden Rock Village." "How many members are there and where are they based?" Shikaku asked. "Everyone I've spoken to about them is extremely tight-lipped. It took a considerable amount of time to get the names of just those three. As for where they are based, honestly, they're everywhere," Jiraiya said with a sigh. "You didn't call us here just for a heads up, what's the plan?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya nodded his head in agreement. "Jiraiya has already given me the outline of his plan. Here's what is going to happen. Tsunade turned to the silent Anbu ninja to her left. Tenzo, as Anbu commander, I want you to spread it through your ranks about the Akatsuki threat. Tell them anyone wearing a black cloak with red clouds is to be treated with extreme caution. Their first priority when dealing with the Akatsuki is gathering information and only engaging when absolutely necessary. Is that understood? Tenzo gave a deep bow at the waist. Every word, Lady Tsunade. Good, dismissed. Tenzo straightened up like a pole had been shoved down his back and disappeared on the spot. Tsunade then turned to Shikaku, who was still giving the Hokage his undivided attention. Shikaku, as the Jonin commander, I want you to pass the word down the ranks. No one below Anbu's status is to engage the Akatsuki threat. Also, once we do have more information about the Akatsuki members and their abilities, I'll want to pick your brain on possible tactics to neutralize them. I understand, Lady Hokage. Although Shikaku was wide awake, he was still speaking as if he was half asleep. Dismissed, she said. Shikaku stood from his chair as if it took a great effort and hassle and then shuffled out the door without another word. Tsunade then turned to Naruto, who had been sitting quietly while she gave out orders. I hope you're not about to tell me that you're going to keep me inside the village for my own safety now that you know about the Akatsuki? Naruto said in a mild tone. Tsunade scoffed, not likely, but what I am going to do is send you on a few goodwill missions. Goodwill missions? He asked, confused. Not immediately, but within the coming months, I will be sending you to the Hidden Suna, Kumo, Taki, and Mist. Naruto nodded his head, already suspecting why he was going to such places. All of the hidden villages that are known to have Jinchurikis. That's right, you and Sarutobi-sensei. Jiraiya put in. Naruto turned to the former Hokage with a look of surprise in his eyes. They put you up to babysitting me, Jigi? Sarutobi chuckled lightly as he stuck his favorite bite between his teeth and held it there. Nothing like that, Naruto-kun. Jiraiya was actually going to accompany you, but I pointed out that I was the better diplomat and even a former cage trump Sasanin in the political arena, where talks are going to take place. So when do we leave? Naruto asked. That remains to be seen. Tsunade answered, we sent out letters asking for a meeting to discuss things but have yet to receive a reply from anyone. Even Suna has sent word yet. When we do get a response, your diplomatic mission will trump all others, is that clear? I understand, Lady Hokage, Naruto said with a small nod of his head. Good, now that business is out of the way, tonight at midnight I want you to meet me at the top of the Hokage monument. It's very important that you be there on time. Jiraiya told Naruto. You've been acting strange all morning. You better have some answers for me tonight or I'm going to seriously see about having you committed for evaluation, Naruto said as he eyed his godfather. You disrespectful brat, just get out of here and don't forget about tonight, Jiraiya said. Fine, I'll see you tonight, Naruto said and left with a wave to both Tsunade and Sarutobi. With no missions on the horizon and with his duty at the academy over with for now, Naruto didn't have any particular place to be at the moment, so he let his feet make the decision as to where he would go. An hour later, depending on your point of view, it was either a good or bad thing that he wound up in the training field of Team 9. He stirred from his absent-minded walking in time to see Tenten unleash just about every weapon known to man from a scroll at a fast-spinning Neji Hyuga while Guy and Lee were some distance away sparring. Naruto's presence wasn't known until an exuberant shout was echoed through the training ground. Yosh! My eternal rival is finally here to challenge me in youthful combat. In the next instant, Lee was standing 5 feet away from Naruto in his taijutsu stance ready to battle. Naruto held his hands up in surrender. Actually, Lee, I was just out for a walk and my feet brought me here. You mean you didn't come here with the intention to challenge me to youthful combat? Lee asked with a disappointed look on his face. No, I didn't, sorry, Lee. Lee went from disappointed to ecstatic in an instant. If you will not challenge me, then I challenge you. Dynamic entry, he shouted and launched himself in a flying kick at Naruto's head. Naruto rolled beneath the attack and set himself in his own stance. It was a good thing he did because Lee didn't waste a moment. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he propelled himself backwards into another attack. Severe Leaf Hurricane. Naruto ducked the powerful spinning back kick and launched his counter-attack, a jumping knee strike that whistled past Lee's ear when he dodged to the side. Naruto spun around quickly and continued his assault. He aimed a low kick to the inside of Lee's right knee that staggered the Jinan and then followed it with a side kick to the chest that sent the green-clad ninja sliding along the ground. Lee, momentarily dazed, quickly found his footing and popped to his feet with shining eyes and a beaming smile. Quite excellent moves, I would expect nothing less from my rival. Lee shot forward faster than before, but not fast enough that Naruto lost sight of him. He jumped and feinted with another spinning back kick but actually shot out an overhand right that would have broken the blonde's nose if he didn't put his guard up. But with the power behind the blow, it sent Naruto sliding back several feet. "I knew you were a student of hard work just like I'm Lee, let's really cut loose," Naruto said with a smile. Lee was so excited at the prospect. For the first time he didn't look to Guy-sensei for permission to take his weights off, he simply bent down and unclasped the heavy burdens from his ankles. When he stood up he bounced in place lightly before sharing a grin with Naruto as they both vanished in an awesome display of speed. The sounds of high-speed winds as blows were dodged and meaty thunks as contact was made were heard through the training ground. While Naruto and Lee were trading blows off to the side and out of the danger area, the rest of Team 9 were standing by watching the spectacle. "I still can't follow high-speed movement even after all this time," Tenten complained as she lost sight of the two combatants. "As much as I hate to admit it, I'm with you Tenten, and because neither one is using chakra I can't even track their movements that way," Neji said with a frown. Tenten turned to Neji with surprise written all over her face. "Naruto isn't using chakra to augment his speed?" "No my adorable student, just like Lee, that's just plain hard achieved speed," Guy said with a serious expression on his face. "Guy-sensei, do you know what kind of style Naruto is using?" "Yes. From his stance and the attacks I've seen I can safely conclude that he is using the Art of Nine Weapons style," Guy said. The name refers to the practitioner using the hands, elbows, legs, knees and headbutts to attack. It's a very old style and very dangerous. "How effective is this style?" Neji asked as he continued to follow the sounds of combat. "It's a versatile combat style, as you can see here, it can be used for single combat or for a multitude of enemies. The style requires speed, agility and flexibility, and like any style of taijutsu, if mastered it can cripple or kill in a single blow, but as Naruto is no doubt holding back for Lee's sake I can't tell you how proficient he is at using it," the taijutsu master answered. Back with the two combatants, they finally stopped their high-speed battle and sprang apart. They landed on opposite sides of the training field, bruised and panting but still smiling. "This is a most wonderful challenge, my rival. I look forward to many more in the future, but I'm afraid I must end it here. To go any further for me would mean using the 8 gates, so you may have this victory," Lee said with a deep bow from the waist. Naruto returned the bow just as deeply. "Lee, anytime you want to spar, you need only to ask," he said sincerely. "What youthful showmanship from both of you, well done." Guy screamed from the sidelines. "Our record now stands at 1 loss for me and 1 win for my youthful rival," Lee said as he and Naruto joined the rest of Team 9. "So Lee, what kind of punishment have you set up for yourself as a loss?" Tenten asked with a smirk. Lee looked at her horrified before he burst into tears. "Guy-sensei, I failed to set a punishment for myself if I were defeated. I've failed you as a student." Guy looked just as horrified as Lee before he also broke down in tears. Naruto, Tenten and Neji's sweat dropped at the duo's display. Lee suddenly looked up with fire in his eyes. "As punishment for forgetting to set a punishment I shall walk around Konoha 500 times on my thumbs," he declared before racing out of the training grounds. "Wait Lee, I'll join you as punishment for not reminding you to set a punishment," Guy shouted as he ran after his student. Why did he have to get so weird at the end? Naruto asked himself aloud. "That's just Lee," Tenten said with a shrug of her shoulders. "Well, it appears training is done for the day, I'm heading home. I'll see you tomorrow Tenten, goodbye Namikaze-sama." "Naruto is fine with me Hyuga-san, no need for honorifics," Naruto said with a sigh. He hated repeating himself and he's had to say that too many times to count. Neji gave Naruto a small nod of his head and walked away without another word. Naruto turned back to Tenten with a sheepish look in his eyes. "I seem to have ruined your training for the day, sorry about that." "Don't worry about, I had a feeling it was going to be one of those days anyway," Tenten said. "How about I make it up to you with an early lunch or a late breakfast?" There are rumors going around that you're living with 3 women, is that true?" Tenten asked suddenly. Naruto didn't hesitate to answer, "They're my fiancés, one was an arranged marriage, but I and my other 2 fiancés chose each other. I'm only asking you out to a meal, not proposing, besides I wouldn't even dream of trying to start another relationship without the okay from my ladies." Tenten reddened in embarrassment at the implication. "I didn't say anything about you proposing or starting a relationship," Tenten said quickly. "I just don't want you getting any ideas. I promise to be a gentleman. Now breakfast or lunch?" Naruto said as he ushered the still red-faced Kunoichi away from the training ground. "Since I've already had breakfast, I suppose lunch will do." "Ladies' choice, any place in particular you would like to go?" Naruto asked as they hit the path leading away from the training areas. "Do you like sushi?" Naruto shrugged nonchalantly. "I could eat sushi. Could I know a great place?" Naruto and Tenten spent the rest of the morning and part of the afternoon together. It was a very casual hanging out. They walked and talked most of the time, not about anything serious, just basically getting to know each other. Tenten talked about her time at the academy while Naruto talked about his time as a bounty hunter. Before they knew it, it was time for Tenten to report to her father's shop for her shift. They said goodbye and went their separate ways. After parting ways with Tenten, Naruto was again left with nothing to do until his midnight meeting with Jiraiya. So he wandered the village a while longer until going home. He made dinner for Temari and Hana before going to bed early to be well rested for later that night. Now close to the appointed time of his meeting, Naruto was roof hopping towards the Hokage monument, fully decked out in his combat gear, prepared just in case he and Jiraiya were being sent out on another mission. Naruto saw in the distance a figure leaning against the railing at the top of the memorial, and recognizing Jiraiya's long white hair flowing in the breeze, he quickly scaled the mountain and appeared in a crouched position on top of the rail next to his godfather. When Jiraiya turned to fully face him, Naruto was quite shocked to see Jiraiya dressed so formally. For the first time since meeting him, Jiraiya was without his customized headband. He was wearing a full-length dark gray kimono with a white shirt beneath it and a wide obi around his waist. "Whoa, what are you all dolled up for?" Naruto asked when he got off the rail and stood facing the Sannin. "I couldn't wear my combat gear to my own wedding, could I?" Jiraiya asked sarcastically. Naruto was too surprised to speak for a moment, but he quickly got over it. "You invited me here for your wedding, why the hell didn't you say something? Do I look like I'm dressed for a wedding?" Naruto said belligerently. "I invited you here to be a witness and my best man." Jiraiya bent down to pick up a package wrapped in brown paper and thrust it into Naruto's arms. "Here, you can change into this. This is the reason you've been acting strange all day? This is the next phase of your life you were talking about?" Naruto asked. "I meant what I said about making up for my past mistakes, I just haven't figured out how yet. Now go get changed, Suhaim's going to be here any second," Jiraiya said. "Where am I supposed to get dressed?" "Don't be such a baby, find a dark corner and get to it." Naruto grumbled good naturally as he did as instructed. He was still grumbling 5 minutes later when he came back in a kimono that matched Jiraiya's. As Naruto came to stand next to Jiraiya, he heard voices drifting up from the stairs that lead to the top of the monument. He felt Jiraiya tensing next to him and concluded that it could only be Tsunade. The first to appear from the staircase was Hiruzen Sarutobi, once again dressed in full Hokage regalia, hat included. Even shadowed by the big brim of his hat, it was impossible to miss the beaming smile on his face. Following behind the former Hokage was Shizune, dressed in a dark green kimono that shimmered in the moonlight and a matching obi. Naruto chuckled softly to himself when he noticed the moist sheen in Shizune's eyes. It looked like she was about to cry or already had. The last to appear over the rise was Tsunade. She was wearing a white kimono and matching obi, and her hair wasn't in its usual twin ponytail but freely flowing across her shoulders and down her back. No greetings were exchanged. Jiraiya simply held out a hand and Tsunade placed her within it without hesitating. The two stared into each other's eyes silently until Sarutobi pointedly cleared his throat. Sarutobi had positioned himself with his back facing the village. Naruto stood slightly behind Jiraiya's left shoulder next to Shizune on Tsunade's right. He gave Shizune a quick glance and sure enough the tears were free flowing now. "I cannot tell you both how happy I am that you asked me to officiate this wedding. Before we begin, I would like to say I am grateful that Kami has allowed me to live this long to witness this event," Sarutobi said as he wiped away a stray tear. "Now let us begin, dearly beloved. We are gathered here today to witness this man and this woman be joined in holy matrimony." As the ceremony continued, there were two things Naruto didn't notice. One of them was his own silent tears that fell from his eyes, and the other was him reaching over to clasp Shizune's hand tightly in his own. When Temari woke up, she started her day just as she had all other days since she came to the Hidden Leaf Village. She got dressed in her workout clothes, grabbed her fan and went out to the backyard training grounds for her daily training session. She felt a pang of disappointment when Naruto didn't join her. The powerful blonde shinobi with the cerulean blue eyes and aura of the warrior and a leader had grown on her, she could admit freely. He was always there with an open ear and always encouraging her to not give up on her attempts to connect with her little brother. He had become a staple in her life in the 3 months she has lived in Konoha. Temari put her disappointment aside and focused on her training. 3 hours later she was showered and dressed, and still had not seen another living soul who lived in the house with her. That wasn't out of the ordinary, except that Naruto would usually make it a point to see her most mornings if he was able. After having breakfast, Temari went straight to the post office. Every day since writing her first letter to Gaara to try and reach out to her red-headed brother, she made 2 trips a day to her mailbox, once in the morning and once again before going home for the evening. It was a combination of her stubbornness and Naruto's encouragement that she checked it every day. She was determined to have the full family that her father denied her when he kept Gaara locked away. She used to write Gaara at least 2 or 3 times a week. At first the letters were all apologies for the way she treated him and pleads for forgiveness. After a while the 3 letters a week tapered off into one long letter with regular updates on the goings-on in her life. How she and Naruto were getting along, as well as how she was getting along with Hana and Anko, her future sister wives. The one thing she never changed about her letters was the way she signed them. With "Love you sister Temari" without fail, she always signed her letters like that. Temari was in for a surprise as she entered the post office. She waved hello to the clerk on duty. Most of them knew her on sight because of the frequency she came there. Temari went straight to her mail slot, and as she got closer she stopped en route and blinked dumbly at what she saw. Nestled in her slot was a white envelope. Temari approached slowly like she was approaching a wounded animal, afraid that at the slightest threatening move the letter would run away from her. Temari took the letter out of the slot with shaking hands, and in the corner of the envelope in surprisingly neat script was the simple return address that, unbeknownst to Temari, brought tears to her eyes: Gaara, Hidden Sand Village. Temari tore the envelope open and pulled out a simple white sheet of paper. She unfolded it carefully. It wasn't a long letter. Temari wasn't expecting it to be. Gaara was a person of few words, but those words always had an impact on the people who heard them. Temari, you are forgiven. Thank you for the constant letters. They have given me a reason to continue on the new path I have chosen for myself. I'm glad you are doing well in Konoha. I have to go now. I look forward to getting to know my sister in person when you return. By the way, Kankuro is feeling neglected because you haven't sent him any letters yet. Every time I receive one he sulks in a corner for hours. Gaara. A watery smile stretched across Temari's face as she reread Gaara's letter over and over. Temari was bursting with happiness. She left the post office at a dead run, heading towards the one person she knew would know how much this letter meant to her. Hopefully Naruto was still in the village and not out on a mission. "Alright class, listen up," Naruto bellowed. Naruto was once again pulling substitute duty at the academy. This time it was for a class of soon-to-be graduates. According to the lesson plan, today was going to be a review lesson of the 3 basic jutsus as well as a sparring session. Well, that's all changed somewhat. Today we will be reviewing evasive maneuvers. Does everyone have a package? Hi sensei. The students responded even as all 20-something students looked confusedly at the white wrapped bundles in their hands. Good, here's the scenario. You've just stolen documents from an enemy village containing plans to destroy Konoha. These plans are crucial to our survival. Your goal is to survive the next 8 hours and deliver the contents of these packages to the Hokage Tower intact. Who can tell me the point of this exercise? A couple of hands went up immediately. Yes, you in the back? A boy with deep purple hair answered him. To test out endurance. Good, that's one answer. Anyone else? Naruto asked, looking around. No more hands went up. I set the limit for this exercise for 8 hours, but who knows how long a situation like this mock mission could last. It could be 8 hours or 8 days. But there's more to this than endurance. This is also about thinking under pressure. You pursuers are going to be relentless. They are not going to stop until you are dead. Eventually, you're going to be tired and hungry. You're going to start making mistakes. That is when you have to dig deep and find your resolve, that hidden reservoir of strength that will allow you to keep going. Naruto looked over his temporary students and was glad to see some of them clutching those packages a little tighter. Let's get this started. The only restrictions are you cannot leave the village. How you evade your pursuers is up to you. Now everyone open your packages. A cacophony of tearing paper was followed by a whole lot of confused muttering. Sensei, what are we supposed to do with raw meat? Instead of answering, Naruto whistled sharply. From around the corner of the academy building a pack of Inuzuka dogs sauntered into view. Some were the size of regular dogs and some were the sizes of horses, but the common thread between them was that they were all drooling and had their eyes fixed on a petrified academy student holding a piece of meat the size of the Hokage's hat. Naruto held up his hand and the dogs stopped their advance. You have 20 minutes before I set them loose. That was all that needed to be said before there was a mad scramble away from the academy. I have to admit, when you said you wanted to hire all available Inuzuka hounds, I was curious about what you wanted them for, Tsume said as she sidled up next to Naruto to watch the kicked up dust from the running students fall back to the ground. Nothing drives a lesson home-like experience, Naruto said, turning to the Inuzuka matriarch. Tsume let out a boisterous laugh. These dogs are going to drive this lesson of evasion home like a sledgehammer, especially if the reward is one of those stakes. Naruto let out a laugh of his own. He looked back at the pack of dogs now joined by their human partners who were only there to keep the more aggressive animals from doing any kind of real damage to the students. I know I said they get a 20-minute head start, but as ninja they need to expect the unexpected. Go ahead and turn them loose. The dogs didn't even wait for their partners to give the word. They took off, drool flowing behind as their legs followed their noses. Naruto and Tsume laughed as the humans scrambled after their canine partners. Naruto spun around and raced towards the source of the scream. He collided with a teary-eyed Temari who hugged him around the neck tight enough to almost cut off the circulation. Naruto rubbed comforting circles around the blonde Sunakunoichi's back and whispered over and over how it was going to be okay while at the same time contemplating who he had to kill for upsetting her. He nodded at Tsume when she left to give them privacy. When Temari pulled back, he was confused by her contradiction of a megawatt smile and tear-stained face. But that only lasted a minute before she started waving a piece of paper in his face. He wrote back. He finally wrote back. He said he forgives me and he can't wait to get to know me, Temari said excitedly, still waving the paper in front of her. Finally comprehending what could make her smile like that and cry at the same time, Naruto pulled her into another hug. I told you he would come around if you kept at it. We have to celebrate your breakthrough. Tonight it's just me and you for dinner. You pick the place. I'm too excited to decide where to go right now. You were the first person I wanted to share the good news with. I'm going to go write him a reply letter right now. I just had to tell you. I'm glad you did. You go ahead and get started on your letter, but don't forget about tonight 8 o'clock. I'll see you tonight, Temari said. Naruto watched Temari walk away and smothered a laugh when she almost ran into the side wall next to the gate because she was reading that letter once again. Naruto turned away from Temari and cleaned up all the discarded butcher paper that the students left behind. After he was done with that task, he was kind of at loose ends for the next several hours. He was about to leave the academy grounds when his ears picked up the faint sound of a howl. And if he wasn't mistaken, it sounded like a victory howl. Hours later, Naruto was standing in front of a full-length mirror appraising his choice of outfit for his date with Temari. She wanted something casual because according to her they were already engaged, so no need for the dress to impress clothes. He was wearing a simple pair of blue jeans, a dark green button-up shirt and black boots. His hair was free from its ponytail and, as usual when it wasn't held back by his headband, was running wild all over his head. Checking the bedside clock, he saw it was 5 minutes to 8, so he went down to meet her at the bottom of the stairs. It was just the two of them in the house, as it would be for the next couple of days at least. Hana and Anko were both sent on missions earlier that day. Naruto didn't have to wait long. Temari appeared at the top of the stairs dressed in black slacks that hugged her thighs and flared at the ankle. Her top was also black with vertical silver pinstripes. She also wore sensible flat shoes. Temari, you look great. You make me feel underdressed for dinner, Naruto said, smiling up at her. Thank you, and what you have on is perfect. You clean up real nice. I do my best. I got something for you. Temari frowned slightly. Naruto, you didn't have to buy me something just because Gaara is talking to me now. Dinner is enough of a celebration. This has nothing to do with Gaara. I ordered this after we got to know each other. I was just saving it for a special occasion, Naruto said. Temari looked at him doubtfully for a second before following him into the adjoining living. Lying on the coffee table was a black lacquered box about 2 feet long. She undid the latches, and when she lifted the top she gasped and covered her mouth in surprise. Nestled on top of a silk pillow were 2 black steel folding fans. Temari picked one up reverently. It was about 1.5 feet long and heavy enough to be used as a bludgeon. With a slight movement of her wrist she snapped the fan open and marveled at the workmanship. Holding the metal strands together were durable leather strips, and the top of the fan looked like it was sharp enough to cut through anything. She looked at Naruto with a question obviously on the tip of her tongue. Koga Higurashi isn't considered the best blacksmith in the Land of Fire for nothing, Naruto said with a dismissive shrug. Temari immediately channeled her wind chakra through the fan, and a smile lit her face when it started glowing a transparent blue. Temari picked up the other fan and snapped it open as well. Back when Temari decided to wield a fan as her shinobi weapon, she started as a dual fan wielder. Later she abandoned the speed of the dual fans for the power of one large fan. Now as she held both fans in her hands, she started going through long-forgotten katas for the dual fan. Naruto watched her silently for a while before laughing out loud. "Maybe I should have waited until after dinner to give you those." An embarrassed smile blossomed on her face. "Sorry, the craftsmanship is just so amazing, I had to try them out." "It's okay, you're a dedicated kunoichi, and I really admire that about you." "Thank you," she said, replacing the fans back in the box. "We should get going before I give in to temptation again." "Good idea, after you," Naruto said, following his fiancée out the door. Naruto had a favorite place he liked to go with each of his fiancées. For Anko it was Tajimamori, a dango stand that earned her loyalty by serving without having to be threatened first. Hana liked a variety of different things, so they usually ate this and that from street vendors and walked around. Naruto and Tamari's favorite restaurant was a place called Namikaze. It was a small out-of-the-way restaurant that treated everyone like family they hadn't seen in a while. The food was delicious and the atmosphere was warm. The two blondes had spent a lot of hours talking in that dimly lit place. After dinner they wandered the village lost in conversation. Naruto led Tamari to a natural hot spring where they rolled their pants legs up and dipped their feet in the water. "So if you weren't a shinobi, what would you be doing?" Tamari asked him. Naruto gave it some serious thought. "I don't know. For as long as I could remember, being a ninja was all I ever wanted. I like plants, so maybe in another life I could have been a florist. In all honesty, I don't think I was meant to do anything else." "What about you?" "I always come up blank whenever someone asks me that question. It's in my blood," the blonde kunoichi said with a smile. "So, how many kids do you want to have?" Naruto asked bluntly. "Ha ha ha ha. You want to talk about kids? We haven't even talked about the wedding ceremony, we haven't even set a date, and we haven't even kissed yet." Naruto decided to fix one of those problems right then and there. He palmed the back of her head, pulled her towards him and captured her lips. It was only meant to be a kiss to test the waters, but at the first taste of her soft lips he deepened it and devoured her mouth. He was happy to learn Tamari gave just as well as she received. She was not one to let Naruto control the kiss for long. It became an intimate game of dominance. When he pulled away, her lips were wet and slightly swollen. He liked that look on her. Tamari looked at him with those deadly intelligent green eyes. "Don't think that kiss distracted me from wanting to set a wedding date," she said with a grin. Naruto pulled her closer and kissed her again. They stayed at the hot spring for a while longer before deciding to call it a night. They shared one more kiss at the bottom of the stairs before going their separate ways. Tamari went to her room and Naruto went to the kitchen to grab a drink before heading to his own room. Once inside, he stripped out of his clothes and went straight for the shower, alternating between hot and cold sprays. He was dressed and about to hit the snack when there was a knock on his door. It could only be one person. "Tamari, what's wrong?" he asked when he opened the door. She was standing there in a white terry cloth robe with pink freshly scrubbed cheeks. Her blonde hair looked slightly damp, it fell around her head, slightly shadowing her eyes. She didn't say anything, just dropped her robe, and there she was, all pink, perfect flesh, full breast and pink nipples and a light dusting of blonde hairs at the apex of her thighs. Tamari placed a hand on his chest and pushed him backwards into his room and kicked the door closed behind her. She looped her arms around his neck and pulled him down into a kiss. It was hot and wet, his lips covered hers, stole her breath and demanded more. He broke the kiss. "What brought this on? Not that I'm complaining. I got tired of waiting for you to come to me," she said simply as she trailed little kisses across his jawline and chin, then back to his lips. "I was going to give you some time," Naruto said between hurried lip locks. "We only got semi-intimate less than an hour ago." Tamari looked into his blue eyes. "Thank you for that, Naruto. I may be new to this level of intimacy, but I'm not the type to shy away from new experiences. I'm as bold as the desert sun and twice as hot. Now take your clothes off." Naruto didn't have to be told a second time. Fortunately, he was only wearing exercise shorts and a t-shirt. Between one breath and the next, he was standing before her naked and blood was rushing to his groin even as he pulled her to him for another heated kiss. His hands drilled down her back to the smooth globes of her ass and she moaned into his mouth, and he swallowed it in satisfaction and deepened their kiss. He squeezed her ass and lifted her off her feet, her legs automatically going around his hips. He lowered her slowly until her pussy lips were resting slightly on his hardened cock. He pulled away from the kiss and hissed in rapture when she moved her hips back and forth, slowly grinding the top of his lengthened member. He could feel she was wet, almost dripping, and that thought only fueled him more. He walked her to the foot of the bed and they fell into it in a tangle of limbs. Naruto grabbed a handful of her right breast and feasted on it until she gasped and arched back, silently begging him to take more of her in his mouth. He moved his hand to the center of her body, parted her tender folds and stroked the very center of her. Temari jolted up, her eyes were closed in pleasure. Naruto said in delight, sensitive area? Temari nodded her head shakily and opened her eyes, the green orbs were hazy with lust. How long are you going to tease me? Be patient, it gets better. Naruto continued to play with her sensitive clit even as he trailed kisses down her ribcage and smiled against her stomach when she quivered in little jolts of pleasure. Temari groaned in disappointment when Naruto took his hands away from her folds, then her thighs closed around his ears in reflex when he took the sensitive butt in his mouth. There was no teasing as he tasted her sweet juices, he plundered and ravaged her center with reckless abandon. Her ankles crossed over his back and he heard muffled pleas of Okami, keep going, don't stop. Before her lady juices coated his chin and he lapped it up like a cat to cream. He slowly swirled his tongue around her engorged clit, prolonging her orgasm, then he pried her thighs apart and slowly licked and kissed up and down her inner thigh. While she was still distracted by the tremors, Naruto moved quickly and surely and sheathed himself inside her welcoming folds. She tensed and Naruto paused. Are you okay? Yeah, I was just surprised, it didn't hurt as much as I was told it would, she said. Naruto stayed as still as he could to allow Temari to adjust to the intrusion, but his cock twitched several times at the pleasurable sensation. It's okay, now you can move. Naruto moved back and forth slowly and deep. She was a tight fist with equal wetness surrounding his cock. It was an achy endured without complaint. He kept his thrusts slow and even, interspersing them with soft kisses to the side of her neck and playful bites on her nipples that kept her squirming. You're holding back, Temari said breathlessly. I promise you I'm not going to break. Then she did something that must be instinctive to all women. She lifted her hips and started meeting him thrust for thrust while at the same time clamping down on her inner walls. Naruto clenched his eyes shut and saw stars. He grabbed her hips and stilled her movements. He took a deep breath and opened his eyes. Okay, let's try that again. He reached down and rubbed circles around her clit. She tensed, then her breaths went ragged. Naruto kept rubbing, gauging her reactions to certain spots he hit. When he found the right spot, he applied the barest amount of pressure. Her hips arched up and her pussy spasmed around his cock. Naruto didn't let her come down from her orgasm. He thrust in and out and at the same time played with her clit and kept her on a continuous loop until he felt his own end coming. He buried himself in her as deep as possible and with a fierce groan he filled her up with his seed. Their panting breaths mixed as Naruto rested his forehead against Temari's and continued to twitch inside her. He rolled to the side and took Temari with him, placing her head over his rapidly beating heart. He didn't know how long he cradled her to his chest, but it didn't matter because he damn sure wasn't letting her or any of his girls go. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.